It was typhoon season, past midnight. The violent ring of my phone tore through the storm and dragged me out of sleep. When I answered, Kevin's assistant's trembling voice came through the line. Elise, Kevin's been in a car accident. We can't get a cab, it's pouring, please hurry. A chill ran down my spine. Without thinking, I grabbed my keys and rushed out. Thunder split the sky, lightning flashing across sheets of rain as I drove. But when I reached the location, there was no one. Then came another message. This time, it was a new location, sent by his assistant Fiona. Inside the bar, laughter burst the moment I stepped in. Fiona skipped toward me, tongue out, grinning. Elise, you're so easy to trick. We were just playing a game. Don't be mad, okay? Later, when Kevin really did get into a car crash, one that left him crippled, someone called me again. I smiled faintly. Another round of truth or dare. Huh, you all keep playing. Chapter 1. Late July. Typhoon season. The weather alerts had been repeating all day. Stay home. Stay safe. By 11 that night, Kevin still hadn't come back. I sent him a message. No reply. I was used to it by now. He had chased me for 2 years. Loved me for 5. 7 years in total, from fiery courtship, the morning and night messages, the shared little pieces of life, to this cold distance, this constant complaint that I cared too much, that I was controlling. Sharp words had replaced tenderness. Love had lost its form. The rain had been falling for more than 10 hours straight. Even the waterproof seal around the window began to give way, letting the rain seep in, like our relationship. Soaked through, turning moldy and discolored under time and neglect. I pressed an old towel against the leaking edge. A night like this, Kevin wouldn't come home. Sleep. You've got 2 surgeries tomorrow, I told myself, half asleep. I was startled by the sudden shrill ring of my phone. I'm a doctor. I never turn off my phone at night. Emergencies can't wait. Lives are always heavier than sleep. I grabbed the phone. The voice that came through was one I could barely stand. Elise, Kevin's been in a car accident. It's raining so hard. We can't find a ride. Please come quickly. Before I could ask anything, the line went dead. A moment later, a location pin popped up on my screen. Panic jolted me awake. I threw on some clothes, grabbed the household first aid kit, and rushed out the door. As my car shot out of the garage, the storm hit me full force. Rain slammed against the windshield like fists. The wind howled like a beast unchained. A flash of lightning tore through the night, splitting the sky and revealing the world in one blinding instant. Before thunder rolled, shaking the air, my wipers fought to clear the water. But my vision stayed blurred. The once busy roads were deserted. Here and there, trees lay toppled, their branches strewn across the pavement. I ran 2 red lights. At last, I reached the pinned location, but there was no one. I called Fiona. Fiona, I'm here. Where are you? You shouldn't move an injured person. That's basic first aid knowledge, I said. But she said nothing. She simply hung up. A moment later, another pin arrived. This one from Kevin himself. If he could send a location, he must be fine. Relieved, I checked the map. Only 500 meters away. I drove slowly toward it. A bar, one Kevin often came to with his drinking buddies. He'd said the place had great atmosphere. I thought maybe, after the accident, they'd come back here to take shelter and wait for help. It made sense, so I didn't think twice. The moment I opened my car door, the storm drenched me in a single breath. In seconds, I was soaked through. Chapter 2. At the entrance of the bar, the yellow light flickered weakly through the rain, warm yet unsteady. The old wooden door and brick walls radiated a humid kind of intimacy, like a secret waiting to rot. I stepped inside. Through the carved screen, I saw them. Kevin, surrounded by his usual gang of useless friends, raising a glass of wine with Fiona. Fiona's red slip dress clung to her skin, revealing her pale shoulders and a soft, glistening neck. Her cheeks were flushed, her body language deliberately coy. And that man, who was supposed to have been in a car accident, was perfectly unharmed, impeccably dressed. Only I stood there, soaked to the bone, dripping rainwater onto their polished floor. Inside, the crowd was clapping and chanting, "Kiss! Kiss! Kiss!" Kevin's hand brushed Fiona's hair. Their faces leaned closer, closer, until someone finally noticed me standing by the door. Whoa, sister-in-law, you actually came? Laughter exploded. Told you she'd come running. Elise loves Kevin too much to ignore a call about a car crash. Ha, Kevin wins again. Every word stabbed like a needle. So that's what it was. A bet. My fear, my panic, my desperate drive through thunder and lightning was their joke, their entertainment. Kevin and Fiona slowly pulled apart. Fiona's face was glowing, pink with alcohol or satisfaction. I walked in quietly and shut the door, then locked it. No one seemed to notice that small detail. Kevin looked at me and said flatly, "Elise, have a seat. We're almost done here. We'll go home together later." His tone, condescending, a command disguised as generosity. Fiona skipped toward me, smiling. "Elise, don't be mad, okay? It was just a joke. I lost a game. That's all." She blinked innocently, sticking out her tongue, pretending to be cute. My eyes, however, were on her mouth. Without warning, I grabbed her by the chin and shoved my fingers down her throat. Deep. As a doctor, I know exactly how to make someone vomit. My nails scraped the soft flesh of her tongue. A second later, she gagged violently and doubled over, throwing up on the floor. She'd already been drinking. She couldn't withstand my professional technique. But I wasn't done. I seized her hair and began to slap her over and over. The sound echoed in the private room. Vomit and blood splattered across the floor and walls. The others stumbled back in shock. By the time Kevin reacted, I had already hit her more than 10 times, ripped out a handful of her hair, and clawed at her mouth until blood ran down her chin. I wanted to tear her tongue out. "Stop it. Elise, are you crazy?" Kevin shouted. I didn't answer. Instead, I grabbed a beer bottle, smashed it against the table, and lunged at him. Kevin screamed. I pulled his hair, hit him, kicked him, grabbed, scratched, twisted, until his so-called friends finally dragged me off. "Sister-in-law, it's not what you think. It was just a game." Fiona lost. "That's all. Don't be angry." Fiona, trembling and bloodied, tried to speak through her swollen mouth. I'm sorry, Elise. I didn't mean it, please." I held a glass ashtray in my hand. "So tell me, am I just a joke to you?" Kevin roared. "Elise, I'm done. We're through." The ashtray flew before he could finish. It smashed against the wall with a deafening crash. His unfinished word swallowed by the sound of shattering glass. Chapter 3. Kevin crouched in the corner, eyes full of fear and fury. "You've lost your mind, Elise. It was a joke. You didn't have to attack everyone." His friends chimed in nervously. "Yeah, really. It was just drinking and fooling around. Nothing happened between Kevin and Fiona." So that's what they thought. That I was angry because of jealousy. I reached into my bag and placed a scalpel on the table. "Who came up with the idea?" I asked quietly. No one spoke. But all eyes flicked toward Fiona. I didn't need an answer. When men take mistresses out to drink, they usually hide it, because they know what they're doing is shameful. They know cheating is disgusting. Something society condemns. But this wasn't just infidelity. This was mockery. Of compassion. Of life itself. A car accident, in a typhoon, was supposed to mean life or death. I am a doctor. I respect life. I had risked mine, driving through that storm. And to them, that boundary between living and dying was a joke. The music had stopped. Outside, the rain drummed on the ground like war drums. I looked up at the ceiling. Tears rolled silently down my face. Fiona, face swollen, whispered timidly, "Elise, I'm sorry. It was really just a joke. Please don't be mad." Kevin barked. "What are you apologizing for? Fiona? She's the crazy one. Can't even take a joke?" He turned to me. "Elise, I'm breaking up with." Before he could finish, I yanked Fiona by the hair and dragged her in front of him. "Kevin, if you dare say break up, neither of you will walk out alive tonight." The scalpel pressed against Fiona's neck. Everyone froze. Moments ago, they had thought I'd calmed down. Now, they realized I hadn't. You're insane. Put it down. Elise, Kevin roared. I screamed back. Shut up, or I'll slice both of you open right here. And you, I glared at the others. Don't move. One against all of you is worth it. Kevin's so-called friends faltered. One ran to the door, fumbling for the handle. Sister-in-law, it's none of my business. But the door didn't budge. Locked. In his panic, he forgot it could be opened from inside. I jerked Fiona's head up, forcing her to meet my eyes. The blade grazed her cheek. Tell me, Miss Fiona, was it a joke? Her lips trembled. She nodded rapidly. Why, yes. Elise. It was just a game, we didn't mean anything by it. Chapter 4. The sharp scalpel in my hand flicked up and cut through the thin strap of her slip dress. A streak of crimson fabric fell to the floor. Then, snap, the bra strap gave way too. Fiona clutched her chest and screamed. I yanked her by the hair and roared. Miss Fiona, this is just a joke, right? Fun, isn't it? Kevin saw his little sweetheart bared in front of all his drinking buddies. He grabbed my hair and slapped me hard across the face. I didn't dodge. My head tilted. Half my cheek burned like fire, and the taste of iron filled my mouth. Yes, perfect. This way. Even if someone calls the police, it's mutual assault. A woman catches her cheating boyfriend with his mistress. How could there not be a fight? Elise, how long are you going to keep this up? I tried to explain nicely. Do you not understand human words? It was just a joke. Right then the door flew open. Kevin's buddies bolted, terrified of being implicated. But in the hallway, bar staff and other patrons craned their necks, eager to see the spectacle. I crashed into Kevin's chest and burst into hoarse, shaking sobs. A joke? A joke? You stripped to play a joke? I planted myself in the doorway like those aunties who make scenes at hospitals, stomping, clapping, crying and cursing all at once. Judge for yourselves. This little slut is lying naked in my man's arms, and tells me it's just a joke. As I spoke, I wrenched Fiona forward by the hair and dragged her out. She clutched her dress, scrambling to cover herself. What are you hiding? You dared send me bed photos of you and my man, now you're afraid of being seen? I pounced on Kevin, clamping his ear and refusing to let go. Go on! Tell everyone how you sleep with this cheap tramp. Kevin mustered his strength and hurled me to the ground, rubbing at the scratch on his face. He bellowed, Elise, I'm breaking. He never finished the word, because I brought a beer bottle down viciously on his shin. He howled in pain. In the chaos, I tore off Fiona's thong, covered in cuts. I scrambled up and started smashing everything in the room, TV, speakers, bottles, glass shards spraying everywhere. I looked exactly like a wife who'd caught her husband in the act. No reason left. Only rage. At the door, the whispers multiplied. Wow. People play wild these days. 1 woman, 5 men, and she's naked. Escort. Maybe? No wonder the wife showed up. Of course it's going to blow up. After all that, they still call it a game? Just a joke? They think everyone's an idiot. Under the bar staff's intervention, the farce finally broke. Bloody from head to toe, I plunged into the rain. As I stepped out, I deliberately turned and looked up at the camera over the door. Since they like jokes so much, I'll make this one go truly viral. Chapter 5. The rain had eased a little, falling in fits and starts. The typhoon's tail still thrashed the city. I drove to my hospital. The on-duty doctors were startled to see me blood-streaked and soaked. 2 glass shards were embedded in my foot, flesh ragged and wet. Doctor, what on earth happened? The night doc asked, making the rounds, at a brawl. I sighed. Bad eyesight. My own man's useless, slept with someone else. I lost my temper. He tried to comfort me. If he's no good, then break up. Why put yourself through this? I agreed, a bad man should be dumped. But the mistress strutting in my face, turning me into a punchline? Absolutely not. I won't let it slide. I reassigned my 2 surgeries for tomorrow. In this state, I shouldn't be operating. Lives are at stake. Luckily, they were minor procedures. Otherwise, swapping the lead surgeon last minute would be a mess. To save lives, that's a doctor's duty. I crashed in the call room till after 10 in the morning. Then the department chief phoned, asking me to stop by his office. Our chief is a 6'2" heartthrob, long legs, tight waist, 8-pack abs, model looks. Wearing old-school black frames as a hospital director almost feels like a waste. When I arrived, he slid a complaint across the desk. One glance and I couldn't help a cold laugh. Of course it was that sorry excuse for a man's doing. Details only he knew were pinpointed. Who else could have filed something so precise? Chief, I said lightly, I'll submit my resignation this afternoon. If someone complains, I owe a stance. My grandfather runs a private TCM clinic. I'll go home and inherit the family business. I added. A self-flagellating review? Not happening. He poured me water and sighed. Elise, this is a private hospital, not a public one. Complaints aren't the point. I shook my head, so young and already speaking in thermos cup with goji berries officialese. What? Won't let me resign, planning to fire me? I started rolling up my sleeves. Fine, fight? Hey, Elise, don't. This is a hospital, he said quickly. I just wanted to ask, are you willing to go to the South Province? Our branch there needs a lead surgeon. I rubbed my temples, throbbing. So you're not firing me? He smiled. Outstanding lead surgeons are rare everywhere. My suggestion, take a leave first. Sort out that not so reliable man at home. Damn. So there are no secrets. My bar brawl clearly made the hospital grapevine. Everyone's probably enjoying the show. Okay, I said with a smile, stood up, and left. At the hospital entrance, I started making calls. Kevin and Fiona don't actually think this is over, do they? I'm supposed to flee to another province so they can waltz into their happily ever after? In what world? Chapter 6. The call connected almost immediately. Mario. It's me, Elise. Aw, my living goddess. Mario laughed heartily. When are you free to come have tea with me? Mario had once been one of my patients. No matter what business you're in, everyone has to face illness and death someday, and cross paths with a doctor. Mario ran in the underworld, with wide connections and a rough reputation, but even he couldn't escape a sudden heart attack. The night they brought him in, he was half gone already. I was on duty that night. Thanks to the whole team's efforts, we pulled him back from the gates of hell. Afterward, he knelt in gratitude, calling me his living bodhisattva. When he was discharged, he pounded his chest and said, if you ever have trouble, come straight to me. So I called. Mario, could you send 3 or 5 of your debt collectors over? I asked casually. He paused. What's going on? My man slept with another woman. I said, still calm. I need a few of your guys to help me pay them a visit, and by the way, dig up some info for me. Mario chuckled. Consider it done. The rain had stopped by the time I drove home. The typhoon was gone. The sky painfully blue. The streets were swept clean. The chaos of the night before was buried beneath sunlight and ordinary noise. People bustled about as if no storm had ever existed. When I opened the door, Kevin was sprawled lazily on the couch, remote in hand, watching TV as if nothing had happened. I ignored him, went straight to the bedroom, and began packing my suitcase. Then I called a moving company. Elise, what are you doing? Kevin followed me into the room, watching as I folded clothes. His tone, accusatory, impatient. I didn't look up. He softened his voice. Elise, stop it. We're getting married at the end of the year. Just apologize to Fiona. Buy her a bag or something, and we'll be done with it. He smiled faintly. That Hermes bag you brought back from the south, give her that one. The audacity nearly made me laugh. That Hermes bag was a gift from a former patient at our private hospital. Most of the clients were wealthy. When people are lying on a hospital bed, facing the brink of death, that's when they're most helpless, most afraid. In their eyes, a doctor becomes the last flicker of hope. When that patient recovered, he gave me that limited edition Hermes bag as a token of gratitude. Kevin dared to suggest I offer that to his mistress. I kept packing. You're going on another trip? He asked. I'm moving out, I said, taking my clothes from the wardrobe one by one. Kevin, between you and me, only I get to end things. You don't have the right to say break up. Yesterday wasn't yours to end, it's mine. Me, apologizing to that slut? Giving her a Hermes bag? What fantasy are you living in? My tone was level, almost gentle. Kevin's face twisted. Elise, are you ever going to stop? He shouted. I've told you over and over, it was just a joke. Why can't you get it through your head? You beat her, stripped her, made a public scene. How is she supposed to face anyone now? All I asked was an apology. Is that too much? I grabbed the glass vase from the table and hurled it toward him. It shattered into glittering fragments, like our 7 years together, splintered beyond repair. Are you completely insane? Kevin yelled, ducking behind the door. His voice was full of fear. Chapter 7. I picked up a shard of glass and walked slowly toward Kevin, staring at him. Kevin, I said coldly, if I hear the words "just a joke" from your mouth again today, I'll kill you. You and your drinking buddies can play whatever filthy games you like. I continued, my voice like ice. But what gives you the right to make me your joke? I tilted my head slightly, my gaze unwavering. Am I just a punchline to you? Kevin's face twisted with rage, though his eyes flickered with something close to fear. After a long pause, he spat. Fine, Elise. If you want to end it, then let's end it. Just don't come crawling back. My phone buzzed. The movers had arrived. I told them to come straight up. Within minutes, they packed everything swiftly and neatly. Miss, is there anything else? One of them asked. Kevin sat on the couch, face blank, pretending to watch TV. I walked up, lifted the glass ashtray, and smashed it against the screen. The television cracked apart with a deafening shatter. Elise, I've been patient enough. What the hell are you doing? Kevin shouted, face contorted. You made me your joke. I said, voice calm but eyes burning. I won't let you, or anyone else, have peace. Then I turned on my heel and left. I owned a small apartment nearby, about 80 square meters. Not big, but cozy. My mother had bought it for me outright. She used to say, a woman must have her own home, her own space, her own escape. Back then, I thought she was being paranoid. Now, I realized she was right. The next day was Sunday. I showed up at Fiona's place with 4 tattooed, broad-shouldered men in tow. Bang, bang, bang. I pounded on her door while yelling through a loudspeaker. Fiona, come out. You sleep with my man and think it's funny? You owe me an explanation. One of the tattooed men began kicking the door. Finally, it flew open. Fiona's mother stormed out, shouting, what do you think you're doing? My daughter is a respectable girl. I pulled out a printed photo, Fiona and Kevin entwined, and shoved it in her face. You're a respectable girl. Is this her? Bring her out. I want an answer. Then, through the loudspeaker again, my voice echoing through the corridor. Everyone, come judge this. This little tramp didn't just sleep with my man, she made me a joke. Last night, in the middle of the typhoon, she called me, said my man was in a car crash, said no taxis were available. I drove through the storm to save him and found them drinking together, calling it a joke. Tell me, is that funny? Neighbors opened their doors one by one, whispering. An old woman clucked her tongue. That girl used to look decent when she was young. Now she dresses like some street temptress. Another chimed in. I saw her skirt the other day, barely covered her behind. And someone else whispered. Heard there was a video, a woman with 5 men at a bar last night. She ran out half naked. Really? Let me see. Yeah, I've got the video right here. Fiona's mother's face turned ashen. She spun around and screamed into the house. Fiona, get out here right now and tell me what you've done. Fiona stumbled out in a wrinkled pajama set, hair messy, face pale. Her mother grabbed her by the hair. Tell me, what have you been doing outside? You came home all bruised last night. Said you fell in the storm. These are beating marks. Mom. No, I didn't. I swear, she cried. Then she turned to me, voice trembling. Elise, you really misunderstood. I didn't sleep with him. We just drank. That's all. It was just a joke. I was so sick of that phrase. My palm moved before I even thought. The slap echoed sharp and clean. I raised the loudspeaker again and roared. You could have stayed quiet after drinking naked with my man. I might have pretended not to know. But you lied about a car crash. You made me watch you two flirt. Tell me, Everyone, what kind of joke is that? The crowd buzzed. These mistresses nowadays are shameless. Her mother brags about her every day, and look what kind of daughter she raised. Sleeping with another woman's man and then mocking her? Disgusting. She deserves a beating. At that, my 4 tattooed men rushed in with plastic bats and began smashing furniture. Fiona's mother screamed and cursed. Her father tried to block them, shouting in panic. When Fiona's brother lunged at one of the men, the thug, clearly trained, twisted his arm in one move, sending him down screaming. When the place was half-wrecked, I pulled out a checkbook and smiled. Fiona, I said, voice soft but deadly, aren't you calling the police? Go ahead, see how much compensation they think you're worth. Chapter 8. The police didn't come, but Kevin did. Fiona's face was half swollen, eyes red and wet with tears. She threw herself straight into his arms. I watched calmly, but then, to everyone's surprise, Kevin shoved her away. Fiona, he snapped. You're just my assistant. Show some respect. Fiona froze. Kevin, what do you mean? His face was cold, voice sharp as a blade. What do I mean? Last night, I went out drinking with a few friends. You cried and begged to come along. Then you got drunk and took your clothes off? You called my wife behind my back, said I was in a car accident, that my legs were broken, and made her drive through a typhoon in the middle of the night. You caused all this mess. Fiona's eyes went wide, disbelief written all over her face. Even I couldn't believe what I was hearing. In just one day, Kevin had turned his back on her. Yesterday, he'd told me to apologize to Fiona, to send her my Hermes bag as a peace offering. Today, he was denying everything, in public. Then again, it made sense. Kevin was just an illegitimate son. Sure, he had a handsome face, a degree from a top university, and some business sense. His biological father had even put him in charge of a company. But that didn't mean he could afford a scandal. A personal affair was nothing. But if gossip hurt the company's stock, that was a disaster. I guess that night at the bar, when he'd carried a half-naked Fiona out, had been caught on countless phones. Photos and videos must have reached the board by morning. And Kevin's legitimate sister, Bianca, had always despised him. This scandal probably gave her the perfect excuse to tighten the leash. Kevin walked up to me and tried to take my hand. Elise, don't be mad, he said softly. I didn't know she called you. I never wanted you to drive through the storm. Fiona snapped out of her daze, then rushed toward him, screaming, Kevin, what the hell are you saying? Yes, it was my idea, but what about the bet you made with your friends? You said Elise loves you so much that even if she found out you lied, she wouldn't get mad. And what happened? I got beaten by that crazy woman, stripped naked. And now you're blaming me? Kevin, are you even a man? I took the plastic bat from one of the tattooed men and smashed it against a broken chair. Who are you calling names? Huh? I shouted. Maybe she still remembered what happened yesterday. Fiona flinched and fell silent. Slut! Who are you calling old woman? I barked furiously. And you, Kevin, stay away from me, you disgust me. Then I turned to my men, grabbed the loudspeaker, and walked away. Chapter 9. Outside, one of the tattooed men scratched his head and asked, Boss, why didn't her family call the cops? I let out a short, bitter laugh. Because Fiona thinks she's living in a CEO romance drama. Oh, the man nodded in realization. She really believes that clueless guy loves her. Huh? I smirked. Exactly. He chuckled. So, boss, what now? Any more orders? I shook my head. Forget it. Their combat power's too weak. I can't even get a proper fight out of them. After that, I went home to see my parents. I told them that the man I'd been dating for 7 years was gone. We had been planning our wedding, set for the end of the year. The gown was already ordered. My parents had even prepared the gold jewelry for my dowry. When they found out what Kevin had done, they were furious. And when my mother learned that I was being transferred to the southern branch, she cried quietly, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. I comforted her. It's fine, Mom. Planes are fast now, just a 5-hour flight. I stayed home for over a week, then packed up and got ready to go abroad. That's when Kevin asked to meet. Mario's men had already told me what happened. Kevin had fired Fiona. She was just an intern, a college student, 2 days away from completing her 6-month term. Without that certificate, she couldn't graduate. She went to Kevin's office and made a scene. The next day, she tried again, but the security guards didn't even let her through the gate. The photos and videos from that night at the bar had leaked. Everyone in the company had seen them. They mocked her relentlessly. The chicken who thought she could become a phoenix, who stripped naked and still couldn't climb up. Kevin claimed she got drunk and took her clothes off on her own, that they'd tried to stop her, and that it all caused a misunderstanding, which made me angry enough to break up with him. In the end, he made himself look spotless, and made me look clean too, in front of everyone at work. He said, "You all know how much I love Elise. When I first saw her back in college, it was love at first sight. I chased her for 2 years before she said yes. We've been together 5 years and we're about to get married. And now, one stupid woman ruined everything," he added. That night, I was just out drinking with friends. Fiona insisted on tagging along. I thought she was just a kid, so I let her come. How was I supposed to know she'd call Elise from the bathroom? Say I'd been hit by a car? Elise loves me, she came through the storm for me, and what does Fiona say? That it was just a joke. Then she got drunk, stripped herself, and threw herself at me. Men's words, the art of lying. If I didn't know the truth, I might have believed him too. In the end, Fiona lost her diploma, her reputation, and her dignity. Her parents, her brother, even the neighbors all whispered behind her back. And some sleazy men in the neighborhood, emboldened by her fall, started asking, "Hey, sweetheart, how much for one night?" Chapter 10. Kevin and I met at a cafe. He brought flowers and bought me the newest Chanel bag. "Elise, do you really have to go?" He put on a tender, soulful act. Those pretty peach blossom eyes of his practically hypnotic. "Elise, there's really nothing between me and her. It was all a misunderstanding. I swear, from now on I'll love you properly. I won't even let a female mosquito near me. I've already replaced all my female assistants." I shook my head. "Kevin, that spiel of yours only fools yourself. Everyone up and down your company knows about you and Fiona. They just don't dare laugh in your face because you're the boss. And besides, I saw it with my own eyes. Was that fake? Once something's dirty, I don't take it back. I told you long ago, between you and me, only I get to dump you. You don't have the right to say break up." I finished my coffee, waved the server over, and paid for my cup. When I reached the door, Kevin called after me in a rush, "Elise, when I'm through this busy stretch, I'll come to the south to find you." I walked out without looking back. 2 months later, Mario called. "Doc, you still down south?" Something big happened. I was surprised. "How big? Sky falling?" Mario's voice came through the line. "Your clueless man got sent flying by a car. One leg's a comminuted fracture. Half the ribs on his chest are broken. Head doesn't look great either, big hole split open. Don't know if the skull's shattered." I frowned. From the way he listed it all, I knew the guy wasn't dead. "He's in the ICU now." Mario went on. "Life or death uncertain. Come on, guess, accident or deliberate?" He chuckled. "Mario, if it were an accident you would have said so right away. It's obviously deliberate." "Fiona?" I asked, smiling. "Yup, nailed it," Mario said. "That woman's ruthless. Staked him out for over a month, picked the time, and just floored it. But she's still a woman, guts only go so far. After she hit him and sent him flying, she tried to run him over again, missed, hit a tree, and got stuck. If it had been a man with better skills, Kevin wouldn't even have a whole corpse left." I didn't return to the country until more than a month after Kevin's accident, when Fiona was sentenced to life for intentional injury to take care of some matters. I made a point of visiting Fiona in prison. When we met again, her eyes were vacant. She looked haggard. I picked up the receiver. She suddenly screamed at me, "Why? Elise, why did it turn out like this? Everything was fine at the start. He loved me so much, cared about me, understood me. Even at company banquets he'd specially order the snacks I liked. He'd drive me home, give me expensive bags, jewelry, perfume. It's your fault, you old woman," clinging to him and refusing to let go. He didn't love you at all. Couldn't you have a shred of self-awareness and roll yourself far away? I looked at her, pulled up a photo on my phone, and held it to the glass. This was 6 months ago, 10 minutes before I went into surgery at the Southern Hospital. You sent me your bed photo with him. You wanted to shake me before a surgery so I'd make a fatal mistake. Didn't you? Fiona ground her teeth. Yes, I wanted you to show some self-awareness and leave him early. I didn't get angry. I spoke slowly, a mistress trying to climb into the main position, using a few tricks, that's commonplace. But what did that patient ever do to you? Fiona, what you did was essentially premeditated murder. From that moment, I thought it over. Just breaking up with Kevin would be too cheap for you dogs. I was going to ruin you both. Life is long. Spend yours in prison. I set the receiver down. Fiona howled, cursing me at the top of her lungs. Elise. He clearly loved me so much. Why? Why did he suddenly turn his back on me? I worked so hard to get into college. So hard to land an internship at a big firm. And in a single night, I lost everything. It was just a joke. Why did you have to hound me like this? If you hadn't pushed me, how would I have driven into him? A guard came and dragged her away. Chapter 11. I went to the hospital to see Kevin. Modern medicine is advanced. He survived. But he would spend the rest of his life paralyzed. When he saw me, he tried to pull the corners of his mouth into a smile. But instead, tears rolled down his face. I pulled a chair over and sat beside him. Kevin, I asked quietly, do you remember the oath you swore when you chased me? He looked at me, his mouth opening and closing, but not a single word came out. I smiled faintly. You said, if I ever betray Elise, may I die without a complete body. Well, look at you now. No matter when you die, you'll never die whole. Kevin closed his eyes for a long while before whispering. So, you came here to laugh at me? I shook my head. As a doctor, I've always respected life. That night, when the typhoon raged and the rain poured, the meteorological station warned everyone to stay home, but you and Fiona thought it'd be funny to play a game. You called me, said you'd been in a car crash. Every instinct in me said not to go out. But saving lives, that's a doctor's duty. I gave a cold laugh. And in the end, Fiona stood right in front of me, stuck her tongue out, trying to act cute. It's just a joke. Don't be mad, she said. You think I was angry because you were with her? Ridiculous. What truly enraged me was that she didn't respect me, and she didn't respect you either. Well, now her little joke came true. Lies turned into reality. How fitting. Kevin, now you can slowly savor the aftermath of your car accident. The bed sores from paralysis, the ache of a shattered leg, and the humiliation when a caretaker you paid pocket change for beats you when no one's looking. You've become the punchline of your own joke. Oh, by the way, I added, I heard your case of embezzlement got exposed too. Your family's saying you've gone mentally ill? Fear flickered in Kevin's eyes, deep, helpless fear. Elise, don't go. Please, save me. Take me with you. They'll kill me. Please, don't go. I turned and walked out without a word. Self-inflicted misfortune, there's no cure for that. He thought others were a joke, not realizing he had always been the biggest one. Epilogue. When I returned to the southern province, I met Kevin's half-sister, Bianca, in a private club. She handed me a glass of wine. I smiled and took it. Miss Elise, Bianca said with gentle elegance. Thank you for removing the tumor. I shook my head lightly. I didn't remove it. He rotted on his own after the disease took hold. When a person treats others as a joke, they're already the punchline themselves. Elise, you're right, Bianca said, raising her glass. Then she slid an envelope toward me. This is the share transfer agreement for our private hospital here in the South. Sign it, and I'll have my lawyer handle the rest. I believe the shares are worth far more in your hands than in mine. I knew what it was, Bianca's payment. With Kevin crippled, she was the greatest beneficiary. No one in that family could challenge her for inheritance anymore. A doctor's duty is to heal and save lives. But sometimes, letting something die is the cure. I accepted the gift gladly, clinked glasses with Bianca, and smiled. The southern sky was warm year-round, The flamboyant trees bloomed bright red like fire, beautiful, fierce, and free.